Morning, everyone, and welcome back to another night of racing action here at Simsport Racing International. Tonight, we bring you the opening round of the Porsche Cup Car 992 Porsche Cup Car here at Imola. This one's going to be obviously a little different to your typical GT3 series because the fun thing about the Porsche Cup Car is there is no traction control. So expect a lot of drifts, a lot of slides, and maybe even some spins. Obviously, tonight, if you guys were watching on Tuesday, you may find the voice a bit familiar. It's me, Patrick, coming back once again, and this time round, I'm joined with a friend of mine, Kieran.
Yes, hello. Bit of a fresh face. Well, when I say fresh, I mean extremely fresh. Not only am I new to the casting booth, but I'm new to the community as a whole. So, in terms of quality assessment, I guess this is going to give me a good idea. So what sort of drivers we have lurking around. I think some of these faces I did see from the Tuesday broadcast, correct me if I'm wrong, in which we did have some very close racing. So in terms of what we're going to see here, we're going to have a lot more aggressive, to say the least, because of the format we have going for this, which, if I'm not mistaken, it's broken down into 3 parts. So the first part we'll have is qualifying, which will last 5 minutes. And then after that, we have a 30-minute sprint, sorry. And then other way around, 20-minute sprint, then a 30-minute sprint. So we're going to have some quite aggressive plays. We're going to have a lot of diving, I would expect, as the time frame in compared to what we're used to seeing, at least around here, is quite a bit shorter.
Yeah, it should be very much an interesting one. There is only currently 2 minutes left of the qualifying. Not quite sure how that's going on yet, as we're still just looking around the beautiful track that is the Imola track. I'd love to be able to say the full name, but honestly, I don't think I know it quite well enough. It's the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo Edino Ferrari, Imola.
That's better than anything.
Fortunately, just looked at the track map and it had it right up there. So there you go.
Beautiful.
But yes, coming down just to the last minute and a half of qualifying. We're currently sat on board with Denise Pope, who is the lowest of the drivers with times, but still able to set one more after this. Who we got up top? It's Crook with a 143.1. He will just be coming across the line now. Not sure if he's going to improve on that time. No, it looks like he's got one more chance as well to try and improve at the top, but times are looking fairly close to the top. It's just half a second between the top 6, I think. Very, very close indeed.
The one that I'm looking at, which, as going into this, I was warned about, because I guess, well, you said this was a 992 Cup. This is not fully true because of this man exactly, Mr. Germany, John Doe Germany, who is actually running the older spec car, the 991 GT3 Cup. So he's in some outdated tech, but as you can see on the leaderboard, he is in the middle of the pack. So he can get some very good pace out of this thing.
Yeah, I do believe it is. Well, you'd think it'd be considerably slower because it is the older spec version of the Cup car. But as you say, currently a second off the top spot, but he just prefers running this car. So, if the opportunity is there for him to do it and he can still push out competitive times, all to play for. And I'd say as well, there's a big difference between being able to pull out one lap for qualifying and then also being able to do it consistently for the 20 or 30 minutes, depending which race you're looking at, race 1 or race 2. So, yeah, there's a lot to play for still. And we have a 21-car grid for this one. So, a few cars already coming across the line, finishing the laps. We actually currently have a new driver at the top there. And that would be Yusuf Azuger, who has got himself a 43.05. So less than a tenth between the top 2 right now. So close. Drivers obviously still having the chance to improve on this last lap attempt of theirs. Right now sat on the man in 4th, which is Vincent Vilcek. And he half a second up on this lap currently. So I think that's going to put him quite comfortably on the pole spot. P5 has not been able to improve. This one coming down now just through the last corner. Has he got the traction down well? And make sure not to run wide because that sand will definitely bog you down. Is he going to improve? Let's see. Cross the line now. And
He's improved.
Only to third, though.
Not enough for
quite,
pole.
Not enough for pole, but still, second row of the grid. It's a long drive down to the first corner as well. So, I think with draft, there's going to be a lot of three wides coming into this first corner. And with it being Tamburello chicane, where you have that left, right, left, I think we might have a few incidences if people go for it.
Well, thinking about that, it's opening up as well. So if we have a track guide, we can have a quick look. Because that one, or the Tamburello chicane you're mentioning, if people do manage to survive going through there, and they come out the other side, they are then naturally met pretty much immediately on the other side. So as we come through here, Tamburello chicane up first in sector 1. This is where you're mentioning that you're going to have some incidences, but I'm looking here at the second chicane, actually, Villeneuve, as that does tighten a little bit in terms of the line you use. So if people survive through there, you're pretty much looking at almost another death scenario as it is.
Yeah, this track is basically all about chicane. So once you go through that one, you go up the hill, back down through Acqua Minerale, over to the third chicane of the track, and then downhill into a heavy braking zone, which is also obviously down the hill, so it's harder to get the braking point right. It's easy to run deep with these cars. Can be difficult to avoid locking up the tyres. Even though they do have ABS, it's not the best. I can tell you that from experience of driving them just around Kyalami a couple nights back. They do like a bit of a wiggle if you are not braking in a straight line, so that's another thing to watch out for. Some cars might be going deep into the runoff at Ravazza. Fortunately for them, this isn't the kind of sim or sand that I think you can get stuck in. I don't believe it's that hard to run out of, but it will definitely slow you down.
It'll still pull you away. Yeah, it'll still pull you away. Yeah. I mean, as someone who's driven around here in an Aston Martin, not a Porsche, so different scenarios. But nevertheless, as you were mentioning about Ravazza is more than likely going to be the area that I can imagine us seeing people going wide, mainly due to braking, so coming down the hill, like I said, going a bit deeper. But nevertheless, if you go too deep and you do touch that sand slightly, you will be pulled out. And naturally, it's a tempting place as well to accelerate a bit too much coming out of the first corner of Ravazza, going into the second one, the final corner, which then leads you down to the start-finish line, which I've been caught out by that, but nevertheless, I am nowhere near these guys' level, so that just might be a me issue. So I'll stay a bit quiet on that one as a known issue, should we say. But nevertheless, the Ravazza area in terms of sand is, well, it's basically everywhere. But the one place I am wanting to have a quick chat about is Acqua Minerale, because that is essentially the dip, the canyon of Imola is a way of putting it, because it's downhill into a semi-chicane, I guess, coming back up the other side with, I believe there's a sausage curb there as well. Now, I don't know how these cars act around heavy sausage curbs, so especially going back up the hill to the bus stop chicane, because you've got some quite aggressive ones there. But if these cars are relatively, are they forgiving? As you said, you've driven on them, especially around Kyalami. You've got quite an aggressive.
You can hit the curbs, but I will say that they can unsettle the car. So if you're in a low gear and you got your foot down, obviously without traction control, the car's unstable enough as it is. If you hit a curb incorrectly and you're still applying full throttle, then you may be in for a bit of a brown flag moment.
Yes. Fair enough. But yes, Acqua Minerale is probably going to be the the main threat, at least for the lack of traction control, because you're going to have to try and control the weight of the car as it goes down and then comes back up relatively aggressively as you go through the second corner, and it tightens as well with the what's it called, banana curb on the outside. So that's going to be a little area that I don't think, or I'm hoping at least, people won't battle too aggressively through, as it's pretty much certain death if you're not that careful. But nevertheless, after that, you have then got the long straight going into the bus stop chicane at the top, as we have one car setting off at the moment. I hope people follow afterwards. There we
got the formation lap, yeah, so we can take you. You don't have to worry too much there, Kieran.
Oh no! I knew it wasn't the takeoff. It was just the fact that only one person left. Not everyone else wanted to have a nice cup of tea, but that's a very British thing, so I think it was only me.
Yeah, maybe, but just something to mention regarding this qualifying here. We had the top, I think it is 12. Yes, the top 12 cars all within a second of each other.
Ooh.
And then even if you go all the way down to P18, they were all within 2 seconds of the leader. So, we're looking at, I think, what's going to be a pretty feisty, very tight grid, pretty feisty race. As we've said a couple times already, it is only 20 minutes, this race one. And that, really, when you think about it, is a very, very fast sprint. So these guys are going to be going all out from the off, but they do have to be careful about that throttle application, as I've said countless times already. It depends so much on your exits. If you go just a little bit too early on the throttle, you just give it a squirt with too much steering input, I think we might have a couple loopers.
That's a kind way of putting it, to say the least. But yes, talking about TC so much, I am just thinking about the main areas to focus on in terms of weight transfer, because you did mention very briefly that these cars, I guess one way of putting it is, they like to sway, so weight transfer is quite harsh, to say the least, with these. So Aqua Minerale, again, one of the areas to focus on, naturally, because you need to treat the weight quite carefully through there due to the changes in which way you're going, whether that's up or down. Ravazza, not so, or the second part of Ravazza, you probably want to nail as best as you can, because after that, naturally, you've got the home straight all the way down to the chicane on the other end, which we're more than likely going to see. Well, especially when you think of races or cars like F1, that home straight is pretty much favorite overtaking place number one. So that's where we're going to see a lot of bumping, at least going into the Tamburello chicane. But hopefully the speed transfer, at least going around the track, as we've also said with the chicanes, is going to be very crucial. So these things like to sway quite a bit.
Yeah, I just spotted on the track map there, the 998 car of Peyton Ellis looked to have dropped back a little. I don't know if they had a slight moment in the formation lap. I mean, I can say for sure that I was at fault for one of those. But as all the cars are now lined up on the grid, rolling to that start-finish line, it will just be a matter of seconds now until we get underway here at the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo Edino Ferrari. So, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for what's hopefully going to be a cracking race here for this first race of the night? Just taking a little bit longer than I expected. Nerves maybe creeping in a little bit more. And we are racing here tonight. Who's got a good drive out into this first corner? It's not quite as long a stretch going into it from where they've gone green. So I think they should be able to make it through okay. Everyone's so far cleanly, but it's this second part of it that normally catches people out, turning in from the outside a bit too early. But I think we're all in single file quite quickly there.
Relatively clean so far. Everyone, I think, has actually managed to come out in the positions they qualified in. So overall, quite clean. But as Crook is looking around the outside already, don't think he's going to think about that one, but he's left the door open. Luckily, he gets away with it with a better exit. He kept the traction well. And as we say, it's actually a bit underwhelming so far. That's a good thing, to say the least, as everyone's staying alive. But everyone managing to stay on track, keeping up with each other, coming down into Aqua Minerale. Going back up the hill. Someone's going a bit wide in the background. The yellow Porsche, not sure who that was. But they've dropped back a few places as they lost traction going into the bus stop. Everyone clean so far. Just one major issue we've seen. So overall, not much happening, but everyone racing very cleanly. So props to the drivers.
Yeah, it's I think everyone's taking it easy for this first race. We might see a little bit more happening later on. It could just be the fact that it's the first race of the season. I don't know if a lot of people have driven these cars before. So I think we're going to have a few taking it easy on the throttle to begin with. But the more confidence they get in the car, the more they're going to push it. And I think the closer to that limit they're going to get. As we look at Ben Crook here, looked to have been getting a little bit of a tow, but not quite able to catch there in the end. However, Oziger goes deep into the first part of the Tamburello chicane, and now Crook looking like he might have a run. The problem with this part of the track is it's not a great overtaking opportunity, but he's going to throw his nose up the inside and actually gets it done. Prove me wrong, hey?
Just slows it down in time. Oh no! Crook losing a lot of pace on that one. I didn't think that red Porsche, or I don't think he thought that red Porsche was coming through, to say the least, and it left him massively vulnerable to Vilcek, who was behind him, and it just caught off guard. So once again,
and we got a yellow flag as well now.
Very aggressively.
I think there's been a couple cars involved in an incident in Tosa.
So that's in the back. Yeah, as you look at the map, it is spreading out a bit more. You're getting some clear packs spread apart as we stay with this front group. So at least from what we've seen, we've only really had one major changing of the guard. However, confidence seems to be all over the place. In the background, was that Lenson?
I think so. I think it was Lenson. He's had a massive moment coming out of the Variante Alta, now under severe pressure from Dave Jr., who's going to go up the inside, and thought there might have been another car trying to sneak in behind there in Wilkes, but no, just somehow the one position lost, but he's run deep again, and he's gone into the runoff, and I think that's just going to leave him a sitting duck now for this straight. Looks like the move will be made by Wilkes as well. They're side by side, though. However, the being on the inside corner is going to make a hell of a difference, but I don't know if he's going to give it up so easily. No, he's trying to go deep, hang it around the outside. No, elects just to take it easy, but doesn't quite get the corner right, and now he's under pressure from another car. Do they touch? It's so close.
Getting a lot of action in just behind the front group. As already... Or who was it? Lenson? No, Lenson's up in front. Who have we been watching that's dropping back? They've not had a good race so far.
I think that was Wilkes, actually.
Was it Wilkes that was dropping back? Oh, dear.
It was one of Wilkes or... Yeah, I believe so. It was one of them. Dropped slightly off the top, but it has... Oh, as we see two cars
in the background,
going into Piratella. I don't know if they'll make it. No, they've actually collided, and we've just caught the end of it. And Valenduke is the unlucky one in that outcome. Unfortunately, it's really hard for two cars to go side by side through Piratella. Fortunately enough, gets back going. Without too much ado, we have a massive slide from... I think that's Ellis just behind. Went very deep on the brakes. And cars flying all over the place. Is this more what you expected now, Kieran?
Pretty much, yeah. Well, this is what I was promised near enough, mentioning that there was no traction control. So these cars are basically what the driver can do. And at the moment, as you say, I think it's more of a case of teething with these cars. So drivers will start to get a bit more confident. There's a car going sideways off the side of the track. I can't tell you who that was. I think that was Ellis. Not going the right way. Yes, I believe it was. He has come back onto the track now.
But a good couple corners for Peyton Ellis there, as we sit on board currently with the person at the back in Denise Pope.
Oh,
Still
Pope
within
outside
reaching
us.
distance. I mean, we do actually have Cook right at the bottom there, but he's not left the pits since
I think he's a DC, sadly.
race beginning. So either he's had some technical issues or just isn't yet able to get involved with the racing. But it's nice to see Denise, getting involved. She gets involved with a lot of these series, to be honest. I've seen her drive the GT3s, GT4s, Endurance with the Wild Things racing, and now also getting involved in what is probably a very new car to her in the Porsche Cup car. I would say personally, this kind of driving where you have to learn how to modulate the throttle to keep yourself going in a straight line without sliding is so important for learning and developing your racing ability going forward. So even if she does just happen to be, plopping along at the back for a little bit, this will help her so much going forwards. Just learning how to apply the throttle to get the best amount of traction. As I think that's Peyton Ellis again going off for a little bit of a slide. Unfortunately, that's Variante Alta catching them out twice in a row now. So unfortunate. Just seeing it appear out of the corner.
And I think it's that curb issue that we were mentioning earlier, because these cars don't have any saving grace really with traction control. If you take the curb wrong, you will just spin out. There's no real much saving grace. You have to, it's all reliant on you. And I do think, sadly, that the tires are cooked on that 998 car. So come back up the grid. So we're on board with Wilkes now. As there's a car going, touching the grass.
Acula having a massive moment there coming out of Tosa. Managed to catch it nicely. Yeah, that's one thing I think it's hard to do, but if you learn how, again, all about modulating the throttle, if you can lift and just tap that brake equally, it's quite a good car to catch in terms of that sense. But trust me, they're all seemingly struggling out there. And it may look easy to a few of these drivers, the ones especially at the front of the grid that have just flown away, but honestly,
they're making it look easy.
They're
making it look easy. This is not an easy thing. As another car in the background there,
lovely slide.
Yeah, beautiful slide. This is turning into Tokyo Drift at the moment. As a lot of cars, I think, once again, people just learning how these cars react around the place, as that was a bit of an abrasive move. I believe that was by Akbort again, as the car in front of him, Junior, took the corner a little slower than he expected, so he came out of that final part of Ravazza a bit slower, but he has managed to get away nicely, as Spec Lincoln has had to slow down as well to prevent another massive crash. Well, I say another, we haven't actually had a crash, it's just been people spinning at the moment. So overall, I've cursed it now, haven't I?
I think that's Dave Jr. going a bit deep now. Aculat's got a possible run on him, but it's all about getting the a lovely slide there. I love watching these cars slide. They look so good doing it.
I don't think it looks good when you're in the car, though, as you say. Brown flag probably happening most of the time with some of these scenarios.
Yeah, if we ever get an onboard shot of some of the cars going through these tighter corners, just watch the counter steering, because you need so much of it to be going in a straight line. Half the time, you'll see a car, turning left to go right kind of thing. Let's see if Dave gives us a lovely little example of it through the Variante Alta up here. Just coming into the braking zone now, about 100 meters or so. Lots of correction on the brakes, as I've said. They're not, but really smooth on the exit actually. Great throttle modulation there coming out of the corner, and not much going for it. I think Sem might possibly be a better one to look at. We've seen him definitely sliding a couple times. But yeah, some really good steering application, just controlling the slides. There's a little bit of one out the final corner. Nothing major, just little ones, all those little niggles, kind of having to turn, counter steer ever so slightly. If you can catch the slide early enough, as you've seen, you can actually use it beneficially to help you get around the corners quicker. But it's a very tough thing to do. Whoa, there we go.
Whee.
Some lovely moments. And another one. Here we are. We're getting all the perfect examples now.
I look forward to the top of the group, actually. Fastest lap has been set by second place. Azurga was catching Crook, actually. And what's happened here? That was another touch of the sand, I believe.
I think,
Whoa.
yeah. I believe that was Wilkes
That
just
was Wilkes.
Back.
And he's left himself
Now
vulnerable and out on the outside. Whoa! A lot of grass being taken there. These three, each time it seems like one makes a mistake. The one that's then chasing makes a mistake.
Oh, so
whoa, big drift. Big drift coming.
Pushing.
My words. But these guys at the moment, at least these three, whenever one makes a mistake in front, the other one pushes just a little too hard to then make a mistake of their own, and they've just kind of stayed as is due to that. They haven't really left each other, they haven't really closed in. I think that's just the pressure as that curb, my word, was taken very aggressively. As you can see, the car being massively unsettled. And I think that's going to allow Wilkes at least to make a little bit more of a gap.
Yeah, I think we've just seen the duality of drivers between Junior and Spenkelink here. One trying to control the car to be as smooth as possible in Junior, and Sem the complete opposite way. It's all about him telling the car how it's done and trying to tame the beast. And unfortunately for Sem, it's not quite working out as he'd like to at the minute, but you never know. Maybe the car will just come to him, and then, because he did catch up to these guys just before, has dropped down after it. Oh, a massive slide for Wilkes, and he's gone. Right off into the runoff there. Could not control that one. That may drop him down the order slightly, but they did have a bit of a nice gap to P9, so there's a chance he can come out ahead. And speaking of slides, Akbulut just ahead had a massive one that he just about managed to correct. Boy, these guys are giving us a show right now.
They are pushing very hard. Well, you said they were going to take this one easy earlier on because it's the first one of the year.
The first lap they did.
Well, yeah, one lap. They've clearly just made. I know what this is like now. Watch this, and clearly they're pushing very hard now. As you can see, varying results on each end. And I have realised, I keep looking back to the top. Azurga and Crook, they keep getting closer and further apart. Just a second ago, Azurga was within half a second of Crook. But now he's dropped back more than a second on that original time. So whether there's been something happening up front with that, I'm not too sure. As we look back to a much closer fight here, less than a tenth of a second between Keskin and Wilkes here. So now we're chasing down, touching a bit of sand on the outside, but I think he can get away with that one. That one, not so much. As we're now going to probably see, we're going to see this gap increase quite a bit now, I believe. You really, really suffer pace going through the main straight, coming up to the Tamburello chicane. And hopefully, pace through here is going to be kept up to get to these two cars. So I believe that's Wilkes chasing down Liebenstein. And these gaps, they're not increasing that much within this mid-pack. It's a good fight and a good chase as Liebenstein goes a little wide here. That brings Wilkes into the fight a little more. There's a little look around. He's shuffling around to give a bit of warning. Wilkes going a little wide now. Coming down into Aqua Minerale.
Yeah, we got to get to
no, I'm a bit ahead.
First.
I'm a bit ahead. Yeah, no, I'm a bit far ahead. I'm looking at the wrong point on that one. Now we're into Aqua Minerale. So the gap is coming quite a bit closer. Keskin is lurking in the background so that if these two get into a bit too much of a tussle, he'll take one of these spots very happily. Everyone's through the bus stop nicely. Oh, I say that, Wilkes does go a bit wide. Coming down into the hill, and these gaps are now opening up a little bit more as it looks like Liebenstein's a little more comfortable through the middle and last sectors at least.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of yo-yoing on the the times at the minute. As we've seen, Crook did have a 2.3 second lead over Ozuga, and then suddenly that's come back down to 1.9. I think it's just going to be how the drivers and their varying driving styles affect the cars, and I think those that we see can get more time out of this is the two behind Crook here go for some beautiful slides through the Villeneuve chicane. With only now 3 minutes 40 seconds to go, they've really got to put their foot down if they want to make any headway into Crook's comfortable lead, I should say. It's only 2 seconds, but it actually looks like quite a bit more on track.
Well, I mean, with these cars, 2 seconds is still a decent amount. It's just more of a case of with the sort of time or the area we are at within the season, this being the first race, these cars still can chew your head off and everything happen as what's happened here.
We've had a bit of jostling around for positions, so Simon Wilkes has managed to make up a spot on von Liebenstein, and then now we've got Keskin right on his tail as well. Obviously, Wilkes was ahead of this group by a considerable margin, just sat behind Akbulut before his massive moment going through Tamburello. So he's now... Well, I don't think he's going to be able to make up the 5.6 seconds required to catch the back of Sem. But he'll at least want to try and put on a bit more of a gap to these two, as it looks like a little bit deep from Keskin, but he pulled it up brilliantly.
Kept it just where the track is, not touching the sand. So he has managed to keep good momentum. It looks like he's pulling a little bit. That might be the camera angle, actually. But Liebenstein trying his hardest to come back and regain the position that was once his. Coming into Tamburello. Nothing too much there. Keskin sending it through very aggressively. I think that won't help. He's actually sliding quite a bit coming out of that. That's going to drop him back. As these two jostle it out once again. Oh, going a bit wide once again, Wilkes. No one pushing it a little too hard. We're closing in on the final lap, I think. Once the leader comes on, this will be the penultimate. Yep, this is the penultimate lap.
And the battle for seconds not done either. Wilczek staying very close to Ozuga.
He has come in.
That's down under a second, so...
I think Ozuga's slowing down. Don't know what's happened. Whether he's cooked his tyres or something. Whether the second drop back, something might have happened quite badly, but the pace doesn't seem to be there because he was very much on time with Crook, even catching. But yeah, now you say that Wilczek is coming back as
Whoa, no!
And no, the third man in this occasion,
gone.
Keskin is gone. He was lurking for the entirety of that time, hoping one of the other two would make a mistake so he could capitalize on the situation, but no, it was him. Maybe a lapse in judgment, watching the cars a little too much, but very, very unfortunate because he was looking very solid for most of that, sliding a little bit, but overall was very clean to keep up with the pace of the two cars in front of him.
I think he just got a bit too aggressive on the curves. We saw how eager he was to run them and push as much as possible through the Tamburello chicane, but then the difference in size and scale up at Variante Alta just got the better of him, sent him flying off to the side, and that has dropped him a fair few positions. He has actually gone from P10 all the way down to 16th, so that is very, very unfortunate indeed for the last lap of the race, which we are now on as well. Crook, bar any unfortunate incidences, should be alright, but Wilczek is pushing too hard. What a beautiful slide through Acqua Minerale. But unfortunately for him, that is definitely not the fastest way through there.
Yeah, even if he saw an opportunity coming on that, he was pushing really hard. Oh no!
Yeah.
And he's going all over the place. Luckily, there is quite a bit of space between third and fourth. That timing will be dropping quite a bit. I don't think there's enough time for any of these places to really change at this point. As Crook comes around the final corner to take the first sprint of today at least. with Azurga in second. Vilcek, after quite a scare, does seal third.
It was definitely pushing to the limit. He did have the gap behind to risk it all.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it didn't pay off in the end. Lenson comfortably in fourth. Dave Jr. holds on for a good fifth place. Akbula, after falling down the order a little bit, does actually end up where he qualified, in sixth place. Spenkelik seventh, which is up 5 positions actually from his starting spot. Very good for him. Wilkes in 8th, also where he started. And von Liebenstein, I think, is the big loser in all of this. He's down 5.
Ooh. So we come to the back of the grid, the last few coming over. And this poor one, Ellis, we saw early days. That spin pretty much ending the race from the start. Nevertheless, he's going to get a bit of a reset as we go into the second sprint, which actually, thinking about it, I didn't have a look. How does the grid work for the second sprint? Is it reverse grid, or is it basically where they are as is at the moment?
See, I don't think we're actually sure how, because none of us were here when it was set up, and the information is not available to us on simracing.gp. So this will be an interesting surprise to everyone involved, I think. Just exactly how this race 2 is going to be set up for the starting grid.
Yeah,
but in the meantime, if this is anything to go by, we've just done one 20-minute race. You'll have us for another 30 minutes now for race 2, and it's definitely still going to be action-packed.
Oh yeah, 100%. And at the moment, it's more of a game of survival more than anything, because like we mentioned earlier, I don't think there was any proper collisions. Everyone was actually racing relatively clean. It was more a case of people pushing just that little too hard this early on. That pushed them wide off the track, spin, over a curb a bit too hard, that sort of thing, as everyone's trying to learn the cars, at least around this track, for the time being. As we were mentioning about some of the main losers, I think just in the early parts of the race, they were mainly spinning, especially with a couple of them. I think it was Lenson, the one to point out, as he came up the grid quite a bit. I'm pretty sure that's purely to the fact that he just didn't spin. The pace maybe not as much for the front runners, but nevertheless, because he kept everything together, that meant he could just waddle through the pack. As most of the cars around him, they kept their qualifying spots, but I do believe they spun at some point as they gained a place, but then dropped back, or they dropped back and then they gained the places back. So overall, it was a massive shuffle around of cards, and where you ended up, it was almost a roll of the dice, depending on how you reacted to the car.
Yeah, well, I'm actually quite intrigued to know how I didn't spot him at the end there. John Doe Germany, our sole 991 GT3 Cup car.
I believe
he finished 12th, so he actually also gained a spot from where he started, but I believe that is due to Keskin, who fell down the order on the penultimate lap.
No.
So not really any major overtakes possible for him there, but keeping it going straight is always the most important thing at the end of the day. Keeping it on the tarmac, on the grey stuff, and going in the correct direction will do you far better than trying to eke out those extra tenths and putting yourself at risk of flying into a wall. Fortunately, for most cars here, the walls are quite far away from the track itself. There is a good bit of runoff at all the danger points, except for, I think, Variante Alta, where even though there is still a significant amount, if you go off on the right, you're far more likely to go smack headfirst into a wall.
Especially with the sausage curb being there, you'll probably be flung up a little bit. So you hitting that wall is pretty much going to be an inevitability at that point. But that's if you carry too much speed as well, which at that point, I don't think we've really seen anyone who's pushing it that hard to at least slingshot yourself into the wall. But nevertheless,
We've
coming into
seen
the
all the cars going sideways. Of course they're pushing it.
Oh, no. To the degree of literal flight, I think is the way of putting it. But coming into the second race, we might see that a bit more, as naturally everyone would have gained a bit more confidence with how they're reacting to these machines. Maybe not so, well, I say everyone. Some people might have been slapped down a few as they had quite a bit of a spin. But naturally, I don't think these guys' confidence would have been hit too hard coming into the second part. But nevertheless, I'm expecting a bit more aggression coming into the 30 minutes, not only because it's a bit longer, but because people are a little more comfortable with where they are.
Yeah, just in the meantime, as we wait for race 2 to begin, a little shout out to those people who have hopped in chat tonight. Hello, Daniel, who was the man I was sharing the booth with on Tuesday. Also, Lulu, welcome. I see Patrick van der Laan as well, a fellow namesake, and Patrick Vans. All the Patricks are out tonight. It's that kind of day, isn't it?
Do we have any Kierans in the chat for that sake?
Well, if you dropped yourself a message in there, then there might be one.
What? Oh, am I going to have to go into the chat? I'm the only Kieran, am I?
I think you might be, yes. But yes, Daniel, indeed, Tokyo Drift or Riot, I think there's no other way about it with these cars. So Tokyo Drift is definitely what you will be having.
I mean, we had plenty of it, as was in the first sprint. A lot of it wasn't actually due to touching grass or anything like that. It was purely just the speed that everyone was trying to hold through a lot of the corners, and naturally, no traction control. We keep banging on about it. But yeah, these cars naturally will like to go sideways, not only because no traction control, but because the Porsche naturally having the engine in the back, the weight is all the way back there. And on top of that, because these guys aren't running that much fuel due to the sprint, or is at least compared to an endurance race, a main one, the fuel, which I believe the tank is actually in the front of these cars, the balance offset would be even weirder, to say the least. So there's not really much holding you down on the front. So the balance, at least compared to what you, if any of these guys are used to driving the Porsche in the, well, not the Cup car, but the endurance one in the GT3 endurance series, would react quite a bit differently. So, and especially around a circuit like Imola, where you're going up, down, all around, that
But you do
you're
have
going
the
to feel
advantage
that
of
weight.
traction.
Hey?
You do have the advantage of traction in a regular GT3 car.
You do have that as well. That is true.
But then saying that, those that want to drive the fastest turn the
Traction
TC
off.
right down. It's not quite off because
Well, yeah.
having a little bit is more beneficial than having none at all. But yes, that is indeed still. It's all about balancing the weight of the car as it tilts through the corners and having that weight shifted onto the most important tires. And trying not to unbalance it too much with the curbs, which is the biggest issue I think at Imola, is there are curbs everywhere.
Yeah.
So just a few more minutes now till race start. It should be approximately 3 minutes away. If we can, we could use this break to run through what is left coming up for the rest of this season. It's obviously race 1 of 7. All of the events are on Thursdays on every other week. So, for example, today is February 2nd. Then the second race of the season will be in 2 weeks' time at Silverstone. And it is the same layout. So it will also always be 2 sprint races. The first one being 20 minutes long, the second one being 30 minutes long. And yes, you have that all the way up until the end of April. So as I just said, week 2, coming up in 2 weeks' time, Silverstone. Then we move on to Paul Ricard, where if anyone tuned in on Tuesday, that's where we just had our maiden GT3 season race. Spa, coming up after that, Spa-Francorchamps. Then off to Zandvoort, followed by Monza, and last but not least, Nurburgring. So very much a European-based sprint series for these Porsche Cup cars. As far as we believe, it is session. The qualifying session is how the grid will work for race 2 as well. So
it's a
we
reset.
did have it is indeed a reset. We did have the first and second place switch positions between Ozuga, who was on pole for that race 1, and Crook, the eventual winner. So those will be switching back once again, and obviously anyone who was unfortunate enough to drop way down the grid, such as Keskin and Wilkes a bit, and I think, well, Ellis was starting from the back, but did manage to gain a few positions early on. We'll obviously all get the opportunity to do the same again. So based on that, is there anyone you think that is going to be moving up the order a bit more? Obviously, Sem was the big winner. He moved up 5 positions in that race 1. Do you think he can do any more? Do you think he can get further up? Do you think they'll be too aggressive now going into turn 1?
I don't think the aggression will change all too much, because as we saw, the draft didn't seem as powerful, at least as much as I was expecting. So that 3 wide never really happened, as everyone pretty much got a clean getaway for race 1. If no one gets a clean getaway, that's where danger is more than likely going to happen. But in terms of aggression, yes, I am partially expecting some people to be pushing quite a bit more. Who was it that span just at the end of the last race that we were watching? Keskin, that's it. Yes, from how we were watching him in the background, I am expecting some things to be coming from him. I would expect him to be up, or at least making some places from where he is at the moment, because he looked really aggressive when he was pushing, sliding quite a bit in the background when we were watching the fight happening in front of him. So whether that's going to transfer into how he's driving in this race, well, only time will tell. But a lot of these drivers, at least the ones that we saw sliding quite a bit, whether they'll tone it down, I doubt, to be honest. But in terms of moves, it's probably going to be a bit more of a bloodbath, maybe.
I definitely expect there to not be as clean a first lap as we saw last time. Just in terms of lap 1 of that first 20-minute race, it looked very steady from everyone. Everyone was being very gentle on the throttle, making sure, that they just got the tyres warmed up, because these cars start without tyre blankets, so it is very important, actually, that you do allow the tyres ample time to warm up so you don't burn through them too quickly. But saying that, it's still only a 30-minute race, this one. And I reckon if someone is able to get those tyres working quicker earlier on than the others around them, they will have such an advantage that they might just be able to tear through the pack before everyone else knows what's hit them.
Very much so. We see most of the car naturally weaving. I was looking at the track temperature, 31 degrees. So there's a little bit of help coming from it. Naturally, that track will warm up as the race goes, but as you mentioned, warming them up now is very much going to help for that start. So potentially, if someone... I'm just watching the car, I think that was Vilcek, literally putting the car off grip, sliding to warm those tyres as much as possible. But if they get those tyres up to temp good enough, they can very, very easily send it into that first corner. Whether you're brave enough as well, you probably don't want to spin on the out.
No, that's a little bit too aggressive.
That was a moment, yes. A bit too much of an aggressive weave.
Got to avoid touching the grass there.
Yes, I don't think that would help with tyre temps either. But it's quite interesting. The common, naturally, warming up method is side to side, but we are seeing, at least I saw from Vilcek, trying to get the car off grid to basically burn out these tyres, because, to be honest, I'm not sure what compound they use, but I wouldn't be surprised if you burn them out a little bit. It won't actually cost you all that much for a 30-minute race.
No, well, we say that, but then the amount we see these cars slide, I think they can burn through that rubber quite quickly.
It can vanish, that is very, very true.
So this race 2 actually might be where those like Dave Jr., who seem, at least from us visually watching, a lot kinder to their tyres on the grid, may have an advantage. But as we prepare now for the beginning of race 2, all cars are in position. Some looking a little bit more aggressive than others, and we are going. What a start it is from Crook. He's somehow already into the lead of the race. Ben there, a monster start. And I think Ozziger's been caught sleeping because he's almost down into P3.
He's trying to fight this one back as much as possible, and Vilcek has made his way through.
And that was aggressive.
Who was that? Was that a bump? I didn't see what happened there, but I did see the car off the track as Ozziger has already dropped 2 places, as there's a massive fight happening just at the bottom of the screen. 2 cars going side by side.
Little bits of contact. Somehow we're all going.
Yeah, massive midfield as everyone's piling up here. We've got some weird 2x2s. Maybe see 3x3 at some point. Hopefully not, but Wilkes is at the front of this pack, leading everyone around. This must be a terrifying concept with the amount of cars that are just side by side behind you, but everyone now single filing a little bit as there's a yellow Porsche in the background that was being quite a fortuitous one, trying to find something.
Yeah, it was Lenzen. Lenzen just behind was the one who was caught by a very aggressive defensive move, and almost again here, now getting boxed in as Wilkes and Valenduke are side by side going into the Ravazza. Can they both make it through cleanly? Oh, what an impressive move, but he's been a bit squirrely on the brakes. Can he keep it going? Yes, unfortunately for him, the track continues to go leftwards, as I think we've had a bit of an incident at the back. Lenzen makes the move on Wilkes thanks to him having to be pushed out wide, attempting a move on Valenduke. And when the grid's this close together, that's exactly what can happen. You go for one move and suddenly, if it's not good enough, you can't do it. But he's gone too deep.
Oh no!
Has he been checked up on? Oh, it's so tight at the back here.
That weaving, so going over those little bumps, just offset the car. There was no chance of turning when he needed to. And Wilkes, he couldn't turn. There was a car in the way. And then behind that as well, Spek Lenkit, he was trying to get through as well. And now side by side going up the hill. I think there was a little bit of contact there as they're going all the way up the hill. We're coming up to or is this? No, we've gone past Tosa.
This is Piratella coming up now.
This is Piratella now.
Trying to hold it around the outside. Is he going to?
He's gone a bit wide.
He's been a bit cheeky using the runoff there. That will definitely be a track cut.
Very much so.
Takes the position. Not sure. Personally, I think that's a little bit off the track, but we don't have live stewarding, so he can get away with that.
We have to leave it to the game on this one. I don't think Wilkes will be too happy with that, as he's quite a bad situation. And talking about bad
big
situation,
moment. Keskin again, not having a good time at Variante Alta.
I think that's where he lost it in the last race as well. But it was coming out of the chicane again. I think just clipping that inside curb a little too aggressively offset the car and pushed him a bit wide. The grass naturally not being that forgiving. Now he's got some work to do once again. As this midfield pack has been much more drama filled than the last race. As already cars have just shuffled
going for another
around.
dive
He's
bomb,
gone
I
for a
think.
dive. But to be honest, West Camp has gone very deep as he doesn't even make the second corner. Now Keskin making his way back up a bit more.
Yeah, all because he got Vestkamp looking in his mirrors, scared him into a mistake going deep into the corner, just putting his nose out. Didn't really force an error.
No.
Just, the driver ahead just getting spooked, and I can understand why, because these cars don't stop brilliantly, so it's all too easy to start looking in the mirror when you're attempting to to stay ahead of a car that's so close behind, and especially thinking about making a little cheeky move like that.
Stop chicane. Going through cleanly. Who's out at the front? And there's Liebenstein. Does go a bit wide. Actually, no, that was Zach Bullet, sorry. Liebenstein was the one in the middle.
Oh,
what a
it's gone very
dive!
deep.
That car is not stopping in time. That's going to be a nasty place to get back on. As the sand is not forgiving, as we mentioned very, very early on. You can luckily not get bogged down, but nevertheless, you are going to lose a ton of time in that situation. As Junior drops down to 9th now, as he's got a lot of work to do again, as not only is he lost positions, but he's lost a lot of time to the car in front of him.
I was praising his safe driving style in race 1 there, but unfortunately for him, it looked like he hadn't quite let the car settle going down towards Ravazza before he stomped the brakes. So just had too much of a wiggle on, which then meant the car was not going to stop. Did the right thing, making sure to go away from the drivers ahead to avoid any contact. Does cost him a couple positions at least, but he's alive, and there's still 24 minutes of this race to go, so can definitely try make his way back up the field. As we did just see Vargas also making a clean move into turn 1 on Vestkamp.
Interesting thing at the moment, fastest lap is held by Spank Link, who's in the middle of the field. So we hop on board with him now. He's chasing down Lenson, someone we gave a little bit of praise in the last race for the quite astonishing battles we had. Now he's going to be having another car breathing down the back of his neck.
Currently it looks like
track.
Yeah, and it looks to be a little bit of a train sat behind Akpulet here. Lenson all over the back of Valenduc. And a few close battles ahead. Sem still just trying to catch up to the back of that pack. Quite close, but not yet close enough. The draft really not looking as powerful as I thought it'd be around here.
Yeah.
These cars clearly not very aero dependent.
Yeah, I mentioned this after the first race. The draft just doesn't seem like it's as profound, so it is more on the corner exit. If you get a good corner exit coming out of Ravazza, you more than likely are going to be fine, unless they are 2 inches behind you. But so far, we haven't really had a scenario like that. Most of these drivers are pushing these cars so hard that coming out of Ravazza, they're so wide that if anyone's on the inside, they more than likely won't have any speed to come back at them. What a send! Going into that corner, Liebenstein going very wide.
I think we've seen a change of position further back as well. It looks like Sam's managed to make a move on Lenson. He has, so something happened on the run out of Tosa there. And Spenkelink, the beneficiary of it, working his way through this pack now. Doing brilliantly, already up to where he finished the last race in only, well, not even 10 minutes of this one, but can't speak too soon. He's just shown us the pitfalls of the car and what can happen so easily if you're not quite giving it your full attention. And because of that little slide, that little moment out of Variante Alta, he now has Lenson all over the back of him once again.
And he's clipped the curb on the inside, maybe a little harder than he wanted. He has managed to find the traction again to get away. That did look a little scary for Spenklink, as Lenson was just breathing all over him, wanting him to make that final error so that he could make the space. And I don't think, with how people are driving at the moment, anyone's really going to be forcing any moves. Because at the moment, the pressure alone seems to be enough to cause quite a few errors.
The front three, though, made a little bit of a breakaway group. Crook not quite able to drop Vilcek off the back of him as of yet, and
There was half a second, actually. There was half a second between the two not too long ago. So Crook is actually pulling away A little bit. Maybe not enough to say it's a clean getaway. Vilcek just keeping Crook in check. Scarily, at least if we're going to go off of what happened in the last race, it was around now where Crook kind of just came into a league of his own. Just started running away, pulling seconds on the cars.
Speaking of, look how well Vilcek just went through the Variante Alta. He just gained a hell of a lot of time pushing this apex speed through the chicane. And once again, he is clearly a man on a mission right now. This gap has come way down. I'd say that's less than half a second personally. Still a few car lengths, especially with a perfect exit from the final corner there by Ben. But yeah, that's down to 6/10 now, so it's still yo-yoing here and there. So I think it's just a matter of time before these guys are close enough that we could have a big old battle for that first place. Don't think Ben's got this one quite in the bag just yet, as we've only now just reached the point where this is the same time frame left as in race 1.
As we say that, it's a case that Vilcek just looks very, very comfortable on the brakes, to say the least, because Sector 1 doesn't seem to be as strong as Crook. Crook was very clean going through Villeneuve. That gap has extended a tiny, tiny bit. However, we are going to start going into some much heavier braking zones as we come back.
Lenson once again back ahead of Sam.
We've had another swap. These two in a very nice fight in the middle of the field. Spenklink still holding on to the fastest lap, but I don't think that's really going to hold much when there's a car directly in front of you as he gets, I was going to say a good exit out of the corner. But yeah, the car offsetting a little bit as the curbs here are a bit bubbly going over, so there's a lot of bumps.
Von Liebenstein also having to get defensive. There's a lot of battles going on with these guys right now, these 5. What's this? This is 4th down to 8th. And then the other Dave, look at Dave coming back up into this group as well after his earlier mistake. So this could suddenly be a 6-car battle for 4th spot. Definitely a lot on the card still with this group.
Down the lane straight. Once again, us being a little underwhelmed by the draft that you get from these.
Drive-through.
Drive-through, ooh.
Keskin pushing too hard. He's dropped way down the back, actually. We haven't seen that.
When did this happen?
We knew he had a moment through Variante Alta, but I think he's had a few more moments than that. And to pick up a drive-through for track limits after only 12.5 minutes of the race, that is a man who has pushed the limits a bit too far and unfortunately found himself right off the back of the pack now. He is a long, long way down.
He's more than likely going to use the rest of this race just to get familiar with the cars, because as much as he had some amazing moments during both this race and the last, not only in the form of some slides, but he was keeping up with most of these as a big slide. Oh no! Going over the sand. That was Akbula as he's brought back into the fight. Liebenstein's going to look around the outside. This is going to be a fun one. There's a bit of touching. That's a heavy curb.
Somehow
sliding out. No one has fully spun out as everyone giving the bare minimum space that you need. I think Liebenstein is going to go wide now.
I think he may have had a little tap. It was hard to tell. It was so close. And look at Dave here, the big beneficiary in all this, right onto the back of this group now. The mistake from Akbula just causing a car park up at Variante Alta. Everyone having a little bit of a bish-bash front to tail. And what looked to be brilliant for Von Liebenstein going round the outside of the first half of Variante Alta now drops all the way down to 9th place as Dave sneaks beautifully up the inside.
However,
this group has still got a lot to change,
Liebenstein has taken... Dave has taken that place back. Liebenstein was having a look at Dave. But he did manage to get that place back. More contact.
Boy.
As his braking points seem to be
I don't think
all
they
over
quite
the place at the
touched there.
moment. I think I saw a little bit of contact. It was a little friendly nudge from behind. It might have caused a little scare up front, but nevertheless, everyone has stayed on track. As now this pack is terrifying, because if you cause just a little bit of an incident, that little slides that we've been talking about going wide here. Oh my word, the cut across that looked near enough death-worthy. This is terrifying at the moment with how these guys are going around. It's astonishing. Everyone's still on the track.
How did they keep away from each other there? The mistake from Akbula again going down through Akmurali, but just about managed to pull it up. However, I thought there was going to be a big collision into the side.
Oh yeah.
From Ballanduk. Now a dive from Lenson at the inside.
Oh my God!
You want to hit him? There's contact, and Dave's now got into the back of Lenson. Wow. These guys are not giving each other an inch.
We were saying the first race was underwhelming in terms of contact. Look of what we've got now. Everyone giving no space, just getting elbows out, moving people out of the way. But what a dive on the inside. As once again, everyone's looking for those spaces, those doors that have been left just a little open now. It's the last race, it must have been really wide. That's some grass that we've had touched. As we come through Villeneuve. Hopefully no wide here. It's not too difficult. There was a little slide from Liebenstein behind. But now everyone, I think, calming down a little after much events happening. I think
taking a moment to breathe. And yeah, as you say, Akbula, the big winner in all of this. He's the one that caused all of this.
He's pulled away a little bit. Actually, the front two, yeah. Akbula and Valenduk have managed to pull away from that massive pack. Or at least a little bit. I don't want to say too much at the moment, as that train is going to catch up if they're not careful, as more sliding is happening at the back. Liebenstein really pushing to get those places back that he lost. Oh, so well, I don't want to say it was just so unfortunate.
I think it was on the verge of being a little bit too much. It is no inch given from any driver in this group. They have been pushing to the max. And to be honest, it wasn't really anyone's fault with the contact. It was just getting checked up a little too much. Car going a bit too deep. The one in front having to slow down a bit more. The gap then being seen, and then just everyone sort of piling into such a close density in the corner because of how close they all are together. Brilliant racing. And the fact that they're all still going in the right direction, to me, is insane.
I don't think from where they're sitting, though, I think they would be in the same sort of mindset. Well, there might have been brown flags everywhere. The normal joke. Especially from Liebenstein after that, the wide going wide at Ravazza. I would still be interested to see if there was contact in that. I'll have a look, or at least I'll have a look after the race. Whether we'll get it in the stream, I'm not sure. But very unfortunate for him.
Yeah, now we're just checking in with our lone 911 or 991, I should 991, say, driver. Yeah. His number's 911. It's close enough. It's caught me off guard.
Pick your poison. It's either or.
John Doe Germany in the older generation Porsche to the 992 Cup car that everyone else is sporting for this series, and still doing a good old job in the midfield here. He's, as we say, started 13th, now up to 11th, so a gain of 2. And still in a little bit of a dogfight with Vargas ahead and Vestkamp not too far behind, so has to keep his wits about him. But yeah, definitely holding his own quite nicely in what is definitely the weaker of the two cars.
I think it's coming down to the entire consistency side of things, because naturally a lot of the drivers we've seen, they've been going sideways. They've been pushing these cars a little too far. And I think in his case, he knows the car. He knows the 991. So it's one of those cases of if you can still get similar pace out of it.
Oh, it's a good run from
why
Dave
do you
here.
need? And is this a side-by-side?
It
is a
is.
side-by-side. As we go into
contact.
Villeneuve. A little touch on the rear right of the car does mean he has to cut the corner. Is he going to give these positions back, as that very much was making an advantage of going off track?
I feel like they're both trying to give each other the position. Dave looked to have slowed down a lot, thinking maybe the issue was on him, but now it also feels like Lenson just slowed down a lot because he didn't want the advantage. And because of that, Liebenstein's like, what's going on, guys? Why aren't we driving here? I need to get past you.
Now we've got a massive three-way battle. It looked like it was going to be three wide coming into Aquamanati for a second there. Coming up the hill. Is there going to be some fortuitous looking on the outside? No. Just going to stay settled for the time being. Maybe holding it out to get a good exit on Ravazza. Is actually, I say that Liebenstein is dropping back a little bit from this group. I say that the brake's coming in. He's come back on this group. Hopefully this exit is going to be beneficial to one of them. He does go a little wide, so he's going to drop back now. But these three, at least, are keeping each other in check, so that if you do make a small mistake, the other will capitalize.
Oh, look, Hill, I think actually this is Lenson clearly giving up the position. Yeah, he's backed off there. I feel like he was the one thinking he's at fault, which is very, very good respect from those two. I'm not too sure if that was the case or not. Personally, to me, it just looked a bit like a racing incident. Both fair driving, little bit of attempt to go for the same spot of track as Valenduc, with another big moment. Has just lost a position to Sam actually there. But from all that battling behind, we now have a 5-second gap from Valenduc to Dave Jr. So that group that was 4th all the way down to 9th has now split in half, with these three here, Akbulut, Spenkling and Valenduc, being the beneficiaries of the battling from further behind. But that battling further back is not done, because look here, they are still nose to tail, these three. And it looks like Vargas is an interesting party at the back, thinking of getting interested. They're thinking of joining in now too.
He's whiffing at these opportunities. He's waiting for one of these to go off, because with how they're pushing at the moment, as Liebenstein taking the inside now for Vargas, coming down the hill as he backs off a little bit, as you've got a slight kink for Ravazza. He doesn't want to push this a little too much. However, he does get out of shape going through Ravazza, and that's more than likely going to bin Vargas into this occasion with him.
Now, the problem for Vargas is he's been driving a bit of a comfortable race, just sat about 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds in front of John Doe Germany. What he's got to make sure he doesn't do now is get too excited, put his foot down just a bit too early, and get it all out of shape. Because that is definitely what can happen when you suddenly see cars in front of you and you think, oh, I can have these lot. You just try and push it a little bit too much, and then boom, you're off into the grass.
Once again, watching these cars, Liebenstein getting out of shape. He wanted to have a look on the inside, as Vargas is going to have a look on the outside now, but does back off. As going around the outside of Tosa is a bold move, to say the least. But he's going to bide his time, as like you mentioned, he doesn't want to push this a little too much, as Germany, or Doe Germany, is just lurking in the background to pick up that spot if any fortuitous spin was to happen in front of him.
There's a lot of these little groups happening right now. We've got a battle going on 2nd and 3rd. We've got this one right here that we've just hopped onto between Akbulut and Spenkling. Somehow, Akbulut has been 4th throughout the whole of this these events going on, with
Even
the majority of the battles.
Scare.
He's the one that started it all by running off the track and then backing up everyone else behind him. And fortunately for him, because of that, and they're all having a tussle back there, throwing fists, he's just like, well, I'm just going to peace out again. But I don't think he's got that help from behind anymore because it's just Sem at the minute. They've dropped Valenduc by about 2 seconds. So now we're going to have really see exactly what Acbula is made out of if he wants to keep this 4th position with only 5 minutes to go. And as you can see, Sem is giving it his all because he is sliding through Tamburello.
I think for anything accurate, he's keeping his eyes set forward. He's not worried about anything going on behind him. Consistency is key at the moment as we've just gone below 5 minutes left in this race. And overall, even though consistency has been flaky, especially within the middle pack, everyone has managed to stay on track somewhat and not have any egregious sends off into the wall. As oh no,
he's done one again.
Acbula
Side by side,
has
side
gone
by side.
wide.
You can just see him in the corner of the screen.
Ooh,
Uses the
that-
runoff to his advantage to keep the position. I think he's just about within his rights to do that. But that he is very much prone to a mistake going through there. We've seen that 3 times now. As soon as anyone's up behind him, he just pushes that braking a little bit too much and then can't control it, a little bit too squirrely. Sem's surely got to be thinking the next time that happens, he is mine, because, I mean, he's already taken 3 bullets without error. Oh, and the big slide from Sem, though, so he can't get the power down to take advantage of it. Do you know what this means? I don't think we've seen the end of Valenduc in this battle either now. 3 minutes 50 to go. But as soon as these guys start jostling, it's going to slow them down so much. And speaking of jostling, I think we might have a little bit of a battle for that second place.
Third. Yes, I have just seen that. Azurga.
2 tenths between them now.
Azurga, after that
Very
frankly,
sideways.
terrible start, is making pace now on Vilcek. He's going to look for the switchback. Luckily, or I say luckily, Vilcek keeping Azurga behind him doesn't open up that inside too early. So now we come to the top of the hill, all going a little wide again through
Oh, he's
Tosa.
all over the back of him. He can't think of making a move down into Aquamarine. He's
not
surely
into
just trying to
Aquamarine.
scare him.
Ooh.
Really trying to scare him, getting all up in his mirror. So far, so good from Vilcek. 3 minutes left to hold out on the pressure. I think it's probably too late to think about getting past and then going on after Ben Crook, who has just once again driven a beautiful race out in front, bar any mistakes. Definitely not trying to cast a curse over here, but bar any mistakes from our leader.
But he's got a 3-second gap as well, which I think was bigger than what we had in the last race. So he's even more comfortable with these cars. Potentially these just suiting him perfectly. As a big dive
Oh, the switch
comes
back.
through from Speckling, but naturally, oh no, that was Speckling. That was
yeah.
Akbulut.
So Spenkling could make the
Spenkling.
move.
Oh,
Oh, we got a backwards car.
who was that? Was that a
54,
back marker?
That's Keskin. I'm not too
that's
sure
a
what's
back
happened
marker.
there, but Keskin clearly not having a great time here at Imola this evening. Unfortunately for him, finds himself a lap down now, and what's not good is he's in the middle of the big group of traffic.
So we hop back up to the second, third place fight. Gap opened a little bit. Zerga dropping back, but nevertheless, he is keeping on check with Vilcek. As we look once again, hopefully just looking out for that mistake, making a move, like you said, probably a
Pushing
bit
track limits.
fortuitous.
Holy
Yeah,
there.
really pushing track limits at the moment.
Oh, look at the
Ooh.
speed taken from Ozuga down there. Has a massive sideways moment, but still able to close right back into Vilcek here. Just so much more confident on the brakes going through Acqua Minerale. However, takes way too much curb on the exit of Variante Alta, and just look at that gap grow again. Such fine margins when you've got no traction. Just about how you can put the power down. But yeah, I don't know. And I think we've seen a little mistake from Wilkes here. I spotted just a couple minutes ago, maybe even less than that, that he was right on the back of Vestkamp. And Now we see him down in 13th. Another mistake from him, dropping him down the pack, unfortunately.
As we
And speaking of mistakes,
now,
this gap's growing still.
this
Wilczek pulling
something
away.
might have happened. Might have been a slide. You really don't want to do that now because we are on the final lap. Zürger, he's going to want to try and just bring this back and once again hope that Wilczek is going to make some form of mistake. But if he's driving like he's been for most of it, cutting that quite aggressively, but does get away with it. But if anything is going off of what we've seen so far, these guys are pretty much going to hold position. Crook just dominating once again. 3.5 seconds out in front. Just an
I don't think the battle's done for 4th either. Yeah, look at that. They're less than a tenth. So Sem's not quite got the position down and dusted yet. Akbulut has the bit between his teeth, trying to push back. Problem is, this has been his weak spot going into Acqua Minerale. Can he get the car turned up in time? As we actually see a yellow flag at the back. 21 Volters with a bit of an issue there, facing the wrong way.
Volters.
But yes, this battle for 4th and the battle for 2nd, the big 2 left now. With just half a lap to go, a massive slide from Sem, but Akbulut tries to carry too much speed and goes well off over the curbs. 2 corners left. It looks like the leader is just about to cross the start-finish line. Yes, the perfect way to start for Ben Crook. Wilczek holds on for 2nd place, Ogiger in 3rd, and now the battle for 4th. I think Sem might well have done it. He has indeed. He's held off the advances of Akbulut right at the end there and comes home for a brilliant 4th place after starting in 12th. What a drive.
Ooh, what a move. Just making his way through the grid. Once again, consistency being key in all of this, but overall, what a great drive. And actually, John Doe Germany managing to get into the top 10 from 13th place in outdated machinery. We keep going on about it, but again, it's just down to how you feel with the car. And clearly, he's found something in the old 991 that he just absolutely adores. Because when it comes to race pace, consistency is quite a prime factor. Sure, in qualifying, you might be able to find some pace, but clearly he wasn't on the top of it. But nevertheless, if you're consistent with what you can drive within the race, things happen, and clearly things have happened for him to make 3 places.
So, not a bad start to the season, I think. After all that, that was a very, very feisty week 1 at Imola. Lots of brilliant midfield battles. Shame it wasn't quite for the top step, but I think that's just a matter of time until those come in.
Very much so. And naturally, track might have something to do with it. As we look forwards, we've got Silverstone coming up. So less chicanes, so maybe exit speed not looking as prominent, but still, there are some corners in there that might prove to be a little bit of a exit game, to say the least. But nevertheless, thinking back to this one, Crook just completely dominating. As soon as he got in front at any point, just he went from race mode to almost qualifying mode. He just kept the pace. He just kept the consistency. And overall, it clearly worked as he just pulled away and away and away in both races.
I've been trying to think of a good joke to go with the name. With the stealing all the points kind of thing, but it never really came to mind because he never had to steal any points. The only non-perfect thing about this about today for him was the fact he didn't start on pole. He still started on the front row. He won both races. Once he got pole, he didn't really have to defend much to hold anyone off at bay. So I think just overall, what a great race for him. As we just have a few highlights now popping up on screen. It looked like Denise Pope having a bit of a moment with Ellis early on there. Maybe some things further down the pack that we didn't quite see. I don't recall seeing this spicy looking car either.
So that
is quite a loud livery.
This is Volta's. This is the one that we had the yellow flag at the very end for. Oh, but it wasn't him in that scenario, as that was Peyton Ellis going off, and Volta's the one benefiting from it. I think that's where Ellis started to fall back a little bit and become a little bit more of a back marker. We look to another one. This is Dave this is Junior and Liebenstein. I think this is one of the ones we saw.
Oh, this is the one we saw with Spear heading down. Yeah, so just a bit squirrely on the brakes. Realizes he'd made the mistake getting way too close and had to take evasive action. Only lost, well, it looks like 3 spots in the end, actually, after that. Sem sneaking through right at the end there. But yeah, for anyone that may have watched this and enjoyed what they saw and thinking, oh, I might quite like to get involved with that, there are plenty of places up available to get yourself involved for the next one. We have a 50 driver cap for this event, and I think we have 25 signed up. Unfortunately, a few weren't able to make it. So, we had a brilliant first day with just less than half the drivers. So if you think, we can get everyone, if we could get a full 50 of these, wow, that would be something. So please, if you're thinking about getting involved, do so. Just jump into the description underneath the video here, and you will have links to the Discord and everything else that takes your fancy. And obviously, drop a subscribe if you liked what you saw. You want to catch all of them involved. We have plenty of events going on here at Simsport Racing International. But I think we have someone who wants to talk to us, actually, in Vincent Vilcek, our 2nd and 3rd place man. Vincent, not a bad day at the office for you, eh? Not too tabby.
Yeah, it was a good day. I was hoping that I could be somewhere in the top 10. I had no idea I could be somewhere in the top 3 fighting for podiums. I like the car a lot. I drive it a lot just for fun. And so I'm very happy we have this series. It's incredible fun to drive this car without traction control. Makes you think a bit more about how much you want to send it into each corner, every single turn, every single lap. And overall, yeah, I think I got pretty lucky today. The GT3 series didn't do me well 2 days ago, so I'm very happy that this went well. Qualifying went okay. Good time. I threw away pole in the last turn. I was 4/10 up of my best time, and then last turn just wanted too much, scooted up completely. It would have been a nice 42. The first time ever I would have gotten a 42, so I wouldn't have deserved it anyway. But yeah, very lucky to stop P3 and went very well.
If you get the time, then it is definitely deserved. We were on board with you actually for that one, and we had Chris in our ears telling us that you were half a second up at one point. So it was like this is a pole time, but yeah, unfortunately, just couldn't get the traction down, could you, for that final corner?
Ah, crap! Yeah, just wanted too much. I guess I think I was in 2nd instead of 3rd, what I usually do. That was just a bit much. Yeah, during the race, tire management was good, especially the first race. I think my tire management was a bit better than P2. That was something with I forgot the name.
You were fighting with Ozgiga for most of both races, yeah. I believe, because Ben was the one who ran off ahead of yours.
Oh yeah. The first race I had better tire management than him. Second race, I think his tire management was a bit better. That's why he caught up in the end. I gotta watch the replay now, because there were some good battles, especially at the start into turn 1. It was a lot of fun, a lot of respect between the drivers. They leave a lot of space, which is needed with this kind of car. You never know when the guy next to you just loses his rear going over the curbs. Overall, a very good experience today.
Yeah, I think you drove brilliantly. Obviously, you're going to have to push that little bit harder if you want to catch Ben, who seemed just a little bit ahead of the rest of the field. But There was a lot of battles going on behind you. I think that really helped you out. You three up front seem to be able to break away yourself anyway, but as soon as fourth down to ninth were all battling at one point, it really helped you guys pull that advantage for the podium spots ahead.
Yeah, I was surprised about the qualifying. The guys behind us, there's some very quick guys in there that I expected further up front. So lucky for us because they got stuck in the midfield. That's why the three of us could get away early. That could have looked very, very different. I remember Sam Spankelink. I was practicing with him the other day. He's quicker than me on race pace. So lucky that he was stuck somewhere I think somewhere in the top 10. Good day after all.
So, what are you looking to? Well, I mean, there's not really much you can try and improve on going into Silverstone other than a race win. But do you think you can at least replicate these results going into that second week of the season?
Always depends how much time I have to practice. I noticed this time I had 2 days to practice. I used them wisely, and performance shows. While on the GT3 race, I usually hope to finish in the top 10, and 2 days ago I was far off from that because I had no practice. So it just really depends what life throws at me the days before the race. If I get the chance to practice, then yeah, sure, I'll hope to do podium again.
Very good. Well, congratulations on your results today, and hope you very much enjoyed being on track with these drift machines, because that for what we could see, they very much are drift machines.
Oh, absolutely. They're the greatest fun. I was thinking about running a Subaru livery because it drifts so much, but didn't find the time yet to get a custom livery.
I think that'll look pretty good out on track.
I think so, yeah. All the sideways pictures.
Oh, for sure. But you do have that competition from the GT3 race with Steve Parker.
I do, yeah, indeed. The question is, who's drifting more, Steve in the GT3 or me here in the Porsche Supercup? Steve is in our team as well, in the Greenwood's racing team, so he was on Discord with me the entire time. I could hear him swear non-stop. That was amazing. It was not happy with the car.
Next time as well. He knows how to take a car sideways through corners, so this sounds perfect for him.
And he caught them pretty well as well.
Yeah, that he did. Well, I think actually our race winner now wants to chat to us. Thanks again, Vincent, for hopping in. Always good.
Thank you very much, guys.
Have a good one.
You too. Ciao.
Right then. Ben, the race winner. It was almost just the perfect time for you, wasn't it? Didn't quite get pole position, but didn't seem to phase you. You got first place basically off the corner, and that was it. You were gone.
Yeah, it's one of those cars where it all comes down to how many mistakes you make. I don't think raw pace is actually the most important thing in the Cup car. I think it's more consistency with a bit of pace. I didn't have the consistency in qualifying, but managed to be consistent in the race.
Did you find that you were maybe, I don't know, it's one of those that when this kind of car you have to stay on it the whole time, because without traction control you cannot have a moment where you may make a slight mistake, because that can bite so much more than, say, your regular GT3.
Yeah, you need to be on the limit but gentle with it, and I think that's why it's such a difficult car, because if you're on the limit you're not really being gentle with the car. It's the same thing with the tyres as well. You can easily burn through your tyres in 20 minutes, or once you've heated one tyre up, it's very hard to get it back under control. It's very tough, and I'm very hot right now.
Yeah, I can imagine it does make you sweat quite a lot, these cars. Were you worried at all in race one? I know the gap was yo-yoing quite a lot between you and Ozzuga in that first race. It was like coming down to about half a second, then up to like 1.5, 2. You seem to have maybe the raw pace, as you were mentioning, but not quite tamed the car enough for his liking, just pushing it a little bit too hard.
Yeah, it was just a waiting game, really. I was just trying to find out which one of us had looked after our tyres better, which one of us was more consistent. I know he was much faster through the chicane, where you've got to really take the sausage curbs.
Yeah.
On some laps, I was losing a 10th or 2 there. And I think it's how I've set the car up as well. So I'm running it as low as possible. So I have I'd say more downforce than most setups that people are using. But I suffered on the chicane. So yeah, it was just a waiting game to see which one of our tyres started dropping off first, I think, or which one of us made a mistake.
Yeah, well, in that second race, you had the advantage of Vilcek, who we just spoke to, getting the jump on him alongside you into that first corner, and then they had a big battle by the end. So that helped you out very nicely just to secure that win. So essentially, after a perfect start to the season like this, where'd you go? Is it replicating it in Silverstone? Is that the plan?
I think so, yeah. It's just getting to grips with the car. I've not raced it very much, other than the older model in iRacing. So I need to learn how the setups work, but thankfully you can't change that much. So it's trying to find that sweet spot where it's stable and I don't kill the tyres, but I can still be on the limit. It's a tough one. I think my setup was a little bit too safe today, but it helped with the consistency, so I don't know. It may be the better approach.
Oh, well, congrats to you, man. You 2 wins from 2. It's, as I say, perfect start to a season. And I think you only just joined today, didn't you, as well? You had probably the latest sign-up for it, so...
Yeah,
perfect. Perfect way to go.
I was eyed it up for a little while. I did some practicing yesterday, and the car felt all right. So I thought I'd give it a go.
No, you did brilliantly, man. Yeah, you very much deserve the wins tonight. So congratulations.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, hope to see you in the next one.
Yep, certainly will. Bye-bye.
Right, see yous. So I think that will be everything from us tonight. Thank you, Chris, for the images behind the scenes. Any last words, Kieran, you want to say?
I guess mainly how welcoming the entire scene has been. Like, watching this was massive fun, especially after watching the GT3 stuff on Tuesday as well. So looking forward to not only casting more, but participating myself. So overall, very, very nice introduction to everything.
Brilliant. Well, if any of you viewers can't quite get enough of all this racing that's been going on this week, on to get a good look at all the tracks and the dates and times available, and they're of course all pinned in the Discord. So anything that you are unsure about, just get yourself involved, ask anyone, and they will all be happy to point you in the right direction. But I think that is all from us tonight. So thank you all the drivers for a wonderful 2 races here at Imola. Thank you, Kieran, for joining me in the booth tonight. And of course, thank you, Chris, for the production behind the scenes and for running it all, basically, because you are the guy who does a lot of it in the Discord.
Jeez.
So I believe that is all from us here at Simsport Racing International until next Tuesday. And hope to see you all then. I won't be in the booth this time round. I have a week off until until sometime in the future. But it's Sam and Ryan who will be in the booth for that GT4 series. Go give them some love as well, like you've all given me. And yes, basically, see you when I next see you. Hope you all have a great evening. Good night.